You're giving me a complex.
Jake's just back there.
It looks like Karen was able to join, so she's on Zoom.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, there she is. 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon. We call to order the study meeting of the West Valley City Council. We note that we have a full quorum present. All council members are participating. So with that, then our minutes of November 16th, we need to take action on.
I move for approval of those minutes. Second.
Then without objection, the minutes will be approved. I look up there to check those. So hearing no objections, seeing no objections, the minutes will be approved unanimously. Let's see. Then we do need to do a little bit of review for our regular meeting tonight. On our agenda, there was a change. And Steve, you're going to do that? Okay. Wayne is joining us online as well, so. This is just an update on the discussion we had on the application that we will be holding a public hearing on. Apparently, they came in with some modifications.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So this concept plan we're looking at was what was shared last week. And after having the study meeting with the council last week, I went back and spoke with the developer and worked on modifying the concept plan. I wanted to point out a few things in this concept that they've changed that enable them to now have driveways in all of the units. So one of the things is you'll notice that a couple of these private streets have, a unit on only one side. So for example, here, down here, and then also up in this corner. So what they ended up changing was shifting that so that all the units now, so if you look at this one, you have 4 and 4, 5 and 5, and then this one, so that they were able to shrink some of those streets and then put the area that was saved for that into driveways. So they have the same number of units, just less road pavement, and that pavement went to the driveways, if that makes sense. So now every unit in this concept has a driveway that you can park in. So just essentially reallocating pavement.
So they used to have 4 other parking spaces. Are they still there or are they gone?
Those are gone, so that so this layout has more parking than the previous one because now every unit has a driveway, but those on the street were removed.
But the only place to park if you go visit somebody is in their driveway.
Correct.
What impact did this have on the green space?
So it's basically the same. And again, it was because they were able to eliminate pavement in some areas and then replace it with pavement and driveways.
Is this part of our package now?
It is, so this is in your packet. The development agreement now refers to every unit having a driveway you can park in with a total of 140 stalls, which is four per unit.
Hmm.
Steve,
Yes.
are the roads wide enough that there's going to be any on-street parking, or will they have signs up with no on-street parking?
So the north-south running streets would be too narrow, but the east-west street, that may be a possibility. It's a private street. The pavement width would be similar to streets that were built under the county's jurisdiction. So that might be possible on the east-west running street, but the north-south streets would be too narrow.
Okay, thank you. And then was there any further conversation about putting no parking signs on 32 along this development so that we don't have street parking out there interfering with traffic?
Not with the developer, but I think that's something that we could discuss just with Public Works, where it's a city street. We could, at least, I believe that's something we could do along 3200 West, so we could have that discussion with Public Works.
Okay,
think-
thank you.
I think we did talk about that. And I don't know if we didn't really take a position, but anyone opposed to that? I'm just concerned because 32nd West really isn't that wide of a street.
Yeah, and it doesn't have the shoulders that you could pull off on either.
If it doesn't have a shoulder, then parking's already illegal.
Right.
It's got a curvy gutter, but there's no space between.
yeah,
Can't park in a bike lane, can't park in a travel lane.
Well, I've heard different stories on that travel lane.
Well, that's just a city ordinance. We did that. Other places you can't.
There were no other changes.
No, sir. So just a brief recap. So the change as far as what you'd be voting on this evening is the development agreement now states that there'd be 140 stalls total, and that each unit would have a 2-car garage with a driveway you can park 2 vehicles in. So that's the difference.
Tom's raising his hand.
Steve,
Yes,
are you there?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
yes, sir.
3200 West they don't have, to be honest with you, the road is small. You cannot park, or cannot do anything on that 3200 West, correct?
Right. There's really not a shoulder to park on 3200 West.
Yeah. I don't see they change that much in here, Steve, to be honest with you.
The driveway goes out to 35th.
Well, so yeah, it says 30.
It says 35,
500
but it's
west,
really
but
30.
That's really
it's
32nd.
Yeah, it's 3200 West.
I thought, I got turned
They
around.
shifted the whole thing 3 blocks to the west.
Okay. Now, we're going to be voting on this. When they brought it in, how do these compare with other projects that we have recently approved in the last, 3 or 4 months? Because, we got some and people were coming in with a little higher quality, et cetera. How does this compare?
Sure. So I think parking wise now, this would be on the higher end of the
Right.
parking than
Right.
compared to some other projects. In my view, in the architecture, I feel like these are some of the better finishes. So we do have some experience with this developer, Brad Reynolds, who did the townhomes on 27th West at about 45th South. And I feel like those turned out nice. And so I feel like they do a good job with the architecture. And then as far as the size of the units, what's different or unique here is that in terms of above grade, the size is comparable to some other projects, but they're adding finished basements. So that does make the units larger overall. It's not a requirement that they do that, but it's something they committed to in the development agreement.
Anything else?
As
Don?
I'm looking at the two maps in comparison tonight, apparently the open space on this one is 1/100% more than the old one. So even in moving it around and that, they actually came up with a little more open space.
Steve,
Yes.
when you mention a basement, are these going to be the basement half out of the ground, or are they going to be totally a basement below grade?
So the drawings we show is that it's below grade. I mean,
Okay.
at this point where we don't have, the grading and drainage, or, topography that's done. I mean, the site's pretty flat. So I'm not anticipating any major earthwork that would be needed, but right now it's anticipated that they would not be building these out of the ground. But again, at this, the caveat I would say is that, once we understand more about where the groundwater is and in any regrading, we'll have a better idea.
Okay, because I would rather them put in the stormwater removal under the pavement instead of raising or any high water table out to the stormwater, instead of raising the grade 3 feet like that other project.
Okay.
Anything else? Not hearing anything else, then thank you very much. That gets us ready for our meeting later tonight. Okay, so I can. Then on our agenda for tonight, we have a public hearing scheduled for 2 weeks from now. Application S-2-2021. And one of the item we will deal with is this is on that Weston Fields subdivision out west. They're off of 41st, I believe it is. Final plat and amending certain lots. And who's going to handle? Oh, there he is. Ooh, in the dark.
Thank you, Mayor Steve Lehman with the Community Development Department. This application is rare. If ever we brought revised final plat to you, this doesn't happen often, but the surveyor of record did notice an error in their calculations during their final plat review. So we wanted to bring this back to you because it does amend 3 lots in the Brookfield Phase 11 subdivision. So this is the subject property. The L-shaped piece that you see there is Phase 1 of Weston Field subdivision, which was approved by the City Council a couple of months ago. In that particular application, the developer included a few lots that are just west of that property identification 6740 west. The reason that he included those lots in the boundary of the subdivision is that those folks have had fences that extended over into his property for 35, 40 years. And rather than move those fences, eliminate their landscaping and outbuildings, the developer consented to give them land in order to keep the fence. In this particular instance, the same application applies. And if I could get Eric to go to the next slide, you'll see the 3 lots highlighted in red there. You'll see a shadow area just to the south of those lots. That's the shadow of their existing fences. So once again, their fences are encroaching onto the developer's property. Rather than negotiate and try and mitigate that, the developer is just consenting to move his boundary to allow those fences to exist. So the fence will stay, the outbuildings that you see there in this illustration will stay, and what landscaping they have will also stay. The next slide is just the final plat. So this area that I've highlighted here in red shows the 3 lots in question in the Weston Field subdivision, and the lots that are in the cul-de-sac there are those lots that will also be affected. So in summary, this application simply cleans up a boundary issue. Because we are amending lots in a prior recorded subdivision, we felt that the city council needed to approve that action. And that is our report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I guess since we've been through it once before, it's not too strange. Hearing no comments, then we will go to, I guess, let's see, our consent agenda. And it looks like on that we have 3 ADA changes, you know, those traditional ones where we fix the corner lots and et cetera. And then one on the 4700 South project. And I don't think there's anything unusual about those. These are following the same pattern and everything as always. Not hearing or seeing any questions. Then we'll go on to communications, and we have 2 communications tonight. And we're going to do human resources, and then immediately after that, the legal department. Mr. Pyle, do you want to say anything before we hear these 2 presentations?
Thanks, Mayor. No, I kind of did my strategic plan introduction last week at the start of the department. So I think we're good to proceed. Mr. Flores is coming up, I see. We'll let him go ahead. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. So I'm going to go through some things that we accomplished, some successes we had over the last year, and then a few other items we're looking at moving forward. So let's see. Thank you, Eric. So a few things, and some of these are just normal things that we do, but our compensation increases went through and got approved as we expected, as normal. Along with that were our police department increases, which you guys are well aware of. So that was a little bit different than intended, but what we hoped for and what we wanted. And we feel we're where we're at with compensation for our employees currently. Our insurance plans are performing well. We spoke a couple months ago on our self-insured plan, and that's it's going as expected. So that's where we want it to be. Some of our workflow processes, we've moved to be more digital or automated, and that's been great for us, great for the employees. Everything's been much more efficient, and we'll continue that as much as we possibly can. Paylocity, our payroll system, we went live with that July of 2020. And over the last year, we've cleaned up a lot of processes and made sure to meet the needs of our different departments. That'll also be an ongoing project, but we felt really good with where we're at so far there. Police recruitment and retention. As I said, those pay increases helped with some areas, but that's not the only area we focus on with recruitment and retention. So we have identified some other areas, and we feel like we've been pretty successful in our recruitment there. And then the last item I have there is COVID management. We've had nearly 1,000 employees at this point contact us for exposures, illnesses, positive tests, and we feel like we've managed that very, very well. We've got people back to work as quickly as possible and reduced the amount of missed time. So those are kind of some areas we've touched over the last year. Moving forward, we really kind of are focusing within HR in 2 areas. One is maintaining our normal processes and operating those as intended. And then the other is being a little bit more strategic in how we support all the departments. So the first item I have here, which we're kind of forced to focus on, is the continuing with the pandemic. So we'll continue to reduce and mitigate employee missed time. We'll do everything we can there. as well as continue to handle any changing policies or laws, be prepared for that. The fire department's been very, very helpful in helping us with that, so we appreciate that. Moving forward, retention and recruitment. I spoke about PD earlier, but this is really across the board. Resignations across the nation have increased. I'm sure you guys have heard and seen that, and it's definitely hit us. This year, we had about 2.5 times the number of job openings than we normally do, because we've had so many resignations and a lack of quality candidates. And so those postings have been up longer than normal. So we're going to dedicate more resources there, and more time there, and really try to make some changes. A standout that we're going to try to make a point of with our departments is making sure we're providing basic employee workplace needs. And really what that means is employees want to feel safe at work. They want to feel that they have the benefits they need to support themselves and their family, and they want to feel supported by their coworkers and supervisors. So we'll really put a strong focus there with our departments and our supervisors to make sure we're providing that. And then the other item to point out is that we intend to be very innovative, and we're open to new ideas when it comes to recruitment and retention. That's already happened with some departments. We've had to have those discussions and reach out in different areas. So we will continue that. The last item I have here is utilizing our Paylocity system in different ways. So there's a lot of tools that the system has and things that we can develop to provide us data and metrics to make better decisions with our workforce. So that's something we've began to implement, and we will further develop as we move on. Kind of just a quick example of that, so you guys know what I'm talking about, is we've recently started to track from the time a job posting gets approved to the time we give a final offer, the amount of time that takes, and we'll track that as we move forward to indicate whether we're being successful with changes we make, or if we need to make any changes. So really, just to quickly summarize, we feel like our HR operations are meeting standards, are doing what we need them to do, and we're meeting the needs of our departments. And then along with that, we'll continue to handle the pandemic. We will put a strong focus on employee retention and recruitment, and then begin to develop and utilize more HR metrics. So thank you, guys. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, with the COVID exposure, was there any hotspot in any department or office, or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, good question. I would say yes, and it was probably more public safety, because oftentimes those employees don't have a choice but to work closely together. We really probably only had 2 times I can think of where we had a higher level exposure, where we had to take 5+ employees off work at one time. And we feel really good about that. To only happen about 2 times was great.
So far.
Anything else?
Anything else? Not hearing anything. John, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor.
Yes, just
I just wanted to add a comment to what John was saying about the
Oh.
employees and the COVID response. The employees themselves have been very cooperative, is the word I guess I would use, and supportive of our efforts throughout the city. We have had some breakouts from time to time, and we also have all of the usual, we have 800+ employees depending on any given week or month. And so you got a lot of different opinions about how we should be treating it, what we should be promoting and not, and that sort of thing. But I just wanted to give a compliment to the overall employee group for being so willing to work with us. And I think it really has showed up in those numbers like John talked to you about. We certainly have had our share of exposure and cases, but we've come through it pretty well. Thanks, Mayor. That's all I had.
thank you. So, Eric?
Thank you.
If you'll explain your legal brief to us.
Mayor and council, thank you. Always a pleasure to be up here. Eric Bunderson, I'm the city attorney, and upon Paul's retirement, I had the pleasure of taking over the IT division as well. And I completely, in an unauthorized way, renamed it to the Office of Justice and Technology. I don't know that that's sticking, but I'm trying to make that happen. So the IT department has really opened my eyes in my statutory duty as the risk manager, combined with kind of watching how IT works. And what I wanted to present to the council tonight is just the focus on what we're dealing with there. The city holds literally millions of records, and I'm talking about anything from police reports, fire and EMS reports, building inspections, emails, all this kind of stuff. We were asked for one of our insurance applications for cyber insurance to list how many records we have, and we got to the millions and just had to give up. We have millions of records, and every day, sometimes up to 3,000 times a day, we have people trying to get to those records, people trying to break in, steal or block our access to those records. And it's this sort of word that Wayne taught me, this asymmetrical warfare, where we're using, we have two very different entities fighting with one another and using very different methods, and we have to keep up with this type of warfare on a daily basis. If we don't, and we don't evolve to keep meeting these threats as they come up, it's sort of like wearing chainmail against ballistic missiles. So the division of IT has to keep evolving, and we do. And the way that we do that is that we keep upgrading our hardware and make sure we have backups physically here and down in St. George. We keep upgrading our software. We have all of the antiviral and then much more complicated things that I can't even understand kind of softwares that we use to protect ourselves. And then the training, and some of you have been through the training, and we'll get the rest of you through it soon. Those of you who are going to be using emails, and we train our employees to use this two-factor authentication, this multi-factor authentication, to be able to address some of these issues. And so it is a constant battle, and we are very lean and mean, but we're fighting, and we're doing that every day. And that is probably the accomplishment and the challenge that I'm the most proud of for the last year. A lot of other things I wrote down on the document that I submitted to you. The civil division handling most of our contracts and risk management, the prosecution division handling our misdemeanor cases, both here in West Valley at the West Valley Justice Court and in the 3rd District Court downtown, as well as a United States attorney who prosecutes federal cases. And we have our fine victim advocates who will handle all kinds of advocacy on all the criminal cases that happen in the city and outside the city. And I don't know if I told you guys, but as part of that, we have a dog. We have a victim advocate dog who actually will accompany victims to court and to witness interviews. And it's a really mellow yellow lab, and people just pet it, and it hangs out with victims, and it seems to be really, really helpful. It's a very effective program. So that's really it. All the rest of the kind of boring details are in that document that you can go over at your leisure. And so if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. Sir?
You talk about, and this in the IT area. Certainly, things are changing. Obviously, technology moves forward. Is it becoming more difficult to maintain security because of not just the number, the physical quantity, but rather the sophistication and that as
Yeah.
well?
It is. And that's what I mean. You're sort of in this kind of arms race of more sophisticated methods, different methods. You figure out a way to fix that and to stop that. They come up with, some governmental actor in a hostile country comes up with yet another more powerful way to do it. And it just goes like that. It's just a constant battle.
Okay. When you talked about backup, obviously you have 2 sites, but I'm assuming that you keep multiple backups, because I know I got caught in that once. I backed up some of the bad stuff.
Yeah, we do. And
I'm
we,
assuming, you have multiple that we could go back until we were not previously infected.
yes, sir. It's a very sophisticated operation to show me the actual physical space. And it's like one of those movies where the halls light up as you walk down them, and then you go in this room and it's just full of all these servers and it's humming, and it's really cool. But they have a very sophisticated way of backing up, daily backups all the way back. So if you get some malware, some kind of problem, and they wait for 15 days before they lock your data up, we can go back before those 15 days and restore the data for when it was clean.
What else was I thinking? Oh, let's see. Obviously, we have our staff, and they're working very hard to keep up with things, but they also have to perform all our work here. Do we have some sort of an agreement with an outside firm to keep us apprised of issues as they come up that maybe we weren't aware of?
Yes, we do.
Is that an ongoing contract?
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're looking into even upping that with some of our like antivirus protection companies that we work with. But yeah, and then we're on like FBI mailing lists, and it's, it all sort of integrates together, even to emergency management when it gets to that level.
Thank you.
Eric,
Eric?
go ahead, Karen.
So what is our protocol to verify that the employees looking at the information have the authority to look at the information and we're not getting in trouble like other cities have?
Yeah, in particular, Salt Lake City got
Yes.
had a really bad incident a couple months ago. So we do have both internal audits and what we're doing is we're cross-checking. We're doing an audit with the IT department, checking the police, and the police checking the IT department, so we don't end up with things like that.
And even somebody in Public Works cannot get in and look at police items, or parks look at things they're not supposed to. I mean, we're
No.
pretty well covered that
No.
way.
These guys probably get more complaints about stingy permissions to the network and to documents than anybody is able to get anything who doesn't have the proper access.
Okay, thank you.
Eric,
Yes, sir.
yeah, I don't know, maybe we are luck or we good, I don't know, but I asked you this question about the last few years. I don't think we have many people shooting us. Is that we are doing better because we have a better training, or is this or we are in luck?
I'm just going to knock on wood, Councilman. I think a lot of it is our good training and addressing issues early in the process. I think we've learned a lot. We learned a lot
Okay.
from some of the pain that we had several years ago. And I think that has really helped reduce the number of lawsuits that we have. you know, we still have traffic accidents and we still have things happen, but yeah, I think early intervention and training have helped us.
Yeah, I think that's, you're right, because, you know, many years ago, a few years ago, we have a lot of people suing us in our police department. And it seems like it's dying down right now. I don't see that many right now. So that's a very fortunate, because it costs so much money to us if the people is suing, and, you know, you know that those big cases, we know that. And I'm so glad I didn't see that anymore. So I think that's a good positive thing. Just congratulations to you guys. I appreciate it very much. So we don't have to spend that much money for that area. The second question I want to ask you is, what percentage here we do it in-house? 50%, 90%, 80% in-house?
Of what, sir?
The cases?
We do all of our misdemeanor criminal cases, 100% of those, and of our civil cases, we probably keep about 10%. Well, I would say we probably handle about 20 to 25% in-house. And by that, I'm using a pretty broad definition of that. If it's a case that has some nuisance value or that we can settle with some kind of intervention without having to hire outside counsel, we'll do that. So I'd say between 20 and 25% of our cases handled in-house, and the rest go to outside counsel who are experts in that particular field: employment, civil rights, negligence, that sort of thing.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.
Since the issue of employees came up, certainly there are internal policies. If an employee deliberately goes and somehow gets into an area of city records where he shouldn't. And those are administrative and even including up to dismissal if it's egregious.
Yes, sir.
Are there also civil and criminal penalties associated with those currently?
Absolutely. The access to certain protected records that are protected through the state, the criminal records, that's an actual criminal charge. That's a crime to access those records without official authorization or need. And that happens all over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sounds like there's no more comments or questions, so thank you. With that, then we have our council calendar. Let's see, I think of note is this our last meeting of November? And then we jump to November 7th.
December 7th.
December 7th. Yeah, I get the day right, but the wrong month. Any other questions on the calendar? Okay. Potential future agenda items.
I have
you
one. I have one, Mayor.
Yes, Tom, Councilman Hune.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm a bit concerned about Highway 201 and also 4100 South. Actually, most is in Highway 201 west side. Is the rush hour is just so bad there. So many cars back up on Highway 201. Is there any way we can do, our engineer can do some kind of like the light have to be very quick and then rotation very quick too, so car won't get stuck on a Highway 201, so we can move very quick, very fast. That's I'm very concerned about that. Not only 5600 West, but Bangalore 5600 West and other from Redwood Road way back to our west side. And I think that's if you can study and take a look at those, and I appreciate it very much. I bring it back to us, and we can have some question or something. That's for public work. Yeah, that's all I have.
Well, it's easy to solve the traffic problem, can just ban cars in West Valley City and we wouldn't have any problem. Yeah, although
Except for
I'm wondering
mine.
if there'd be any pushback on that.
No.
Well, yeah, so you want to ride bike?
Yeah, just have everyone ride bikes, yeah.
Well,
Well, if we solve that problem, that'll be great. Any other potential future agenda items? Nicole?
Wayne just asked that I give an update on the vacancy position that we'll be filling for District 3. We're going to begin noticing at the beginning of December, and we'll keep noticing throughout the month via newspaper, social media, website, the Utah Public Notice website, and share that the whole month. We'll have applicants be able to come in and pick up packets with the application and other documents that we're still kind of working on getting together. And then beginning January 3rd through the 7th, which is Monday through Friday, they'll be able to come into City Hall, meet with me and fill out their application. We'll gather all the information and I'll put together binders for each member of the council with, the resumes, any questionnaires that we may have, letters of intent, that type of thing. Our plan is to study that on January 11th, just in our regular study meeting, and then do the open interviews on January 18th, which is the following week. And then from there, we'll do a swearing in of whoever's selected the following week before the study meeting. So they'll be able to participate in that meeting on January 25th. And then the proposed strategic plan will be January 28th and 29th. And then I'll be putting together a more formal memo with procedure and what's coming and that type of thing in the next coming weeks. So Wayne just wanted me to kind of give you a quick update on what we're thinking.
Yeah, I'm just curious, in your instructions or packet to them,
Mhm.
are you going to let them know that they need to attend that strategic plan meeting?
Yes, that was the intent.
Yeah, okay. By the way, I'm not coming.
Public's invited.
I know.
And council is not required.
Yeah. Well, if tradition holds, if I did show up, I would be one of the very few from the public. There aren't a lot that show up.
Nicole,
Yes, sir.
yeah, can you remind me again, which week we're gonna interview all those candidates again?
It would be January 18th. But
18th.
all the information will be provided to the council 1 week prior. And as far as interview procedures, I'll be putting a memo together that kind of outlines how that should work. And then we'll go from there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I know this kind of depends on the number of applicants we get.
Yeah.
But are we anticipating starting that meeting early or starting it at our regular time? Or
We've talked about adjusting the times or, limiting the interviews to a certain amount of time per candidate. And as you mentioned, we'll kind of determine that after we see how many applicants that we actually have.
Any other comments? Then to council reports. And I always look first to Don because he almost always has one.
I did attend Gold Mountain last week
Oh,
and it was very interesting. It gave me a whole different perception of the plight of the Chinese and the building of the railroad. Even more so than I got in talking to many of their descendants during sister city meetings and things like that. Very well done production. I also, since I've been down to the cultural center, a couple of times this last week, trying to put a tree together and a couple of trees together. I went through the cogs and wheels exhibit also. And that gives you another insight into the plight of some of our not refugees, but some of our other countries where the government is a little more stringent than it is here in the US as far as their ability to express artistic freedom.
Okay.
So they were both very good exhibits.
Oh, great.
That's it.
Any other? Let's see. Did any of you go to the Wednesday Tony Finau Foundation?
I was at Gold Mountain.
That's Gold Mountain.
That was when I was at Gold Mountain.
Okay. Didn't have a,
I wanted to go, but
we were represented there.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
We were, Mayor.
okay. So did you both go or?
No, Nicole was able to go. I was not.
Oh, okay.
I saw that Nancy Day was there too.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that.
And so, yeah, and at the same time, I went and represented the city at the governor's gala. I know it was terrible duty, but somebody had to do it. It was really strange. They had for their entertainment a comedian. And he must have been really good because I actually laughed a couple of times. And
Really?
everybody
Did
else
anyone
was
get that on
laughing
video?
Huh?
Did anyone get that on video?
No. I don't want to be known for that, so. That is kind of unusual. So, anyway, no other reports? Then we do not have a need for a closed session. Any last comments? We just remind you again that we will not meet next week. We'll meet in 2 weeks. With that, then, final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, someone really does want some stuff. Okay, that's great. Okay, then a motion to adjourn is in order. Without objection, we will be adjourned. Hearing no objections, the vote is unanimous and we are adjourned. So we will see